everybody. Welcome to episode 26 of the Unwrapped Leader, where we get raw, real, and relevant of the new network marketing so you can become a gifted leader in your business. My name is Dracy Dewar from Australia.
And I'm Teisha Dorianna from Canada.
Welcome. Oh my goodness. Okay. So just wanted to start off. We are halfway through our social media MVP program. And wow, how much fun are we having? And just even seeing the people growing and learning and stepping up and stepping out of their comfort zones and shining online. It definitely is so satisfying on the heart. I'm certainly enjoying seeing this happen and having this process be a part of our program. So I just wanted to say, we still have packages available at the price that you can purchase. Even though we're 2 weeks in, you got the replays, the catch up, the homework, and there's still 2 weeks to go. It's something that is evergreen. It's something that you can continue work on, but it certainly is value packed on learning on becoming a social media MVP. So today we are actually celebrating a milestone. It is a 5-year anniversary. No, not a 5-year anniversary for the Unwrapped Leader, our book, our business, or our brand, but it is a 5-year anniversary for our very own Teisha Dorianna, celebrating in this industry. 5 years, that's amazing. So I can't believe it already. I just remember going back to that very first day she came to that presentation I was holding. And so I just wanted to say, let's have some fun here. Teisha, are you ready to have some fun?
Yes, absolutely. I can't believe it's been 5 years. It does not, I don't know, it doesn't feel like 5 years. I don't know if it feels like it's been more or if it's been less, because I feel like time's flown by, but at the same time, I also feel like, wow, look at all the things I've learned and look how far I've come since the beginning. So
I know. And what I wanted to say, which is really, it's, it's time flies when you're having so much fun. End of story. Like it really did this. And what I wanted to highlight and what we're going to highlight in this actual episode is, why people start aren't necessarily why people stay. And one of the things is, like, people join for different reasons, and they'll start for the fun, the free product, the friendship, the financial gain, the freedom, the flexibility. Everybody starts for a different reason, but we really, again, think about it. They don't stay for that reason. And it's about transformation, evolution. And this is kind of where you've done, Teisha. Like, I remember when I had asked your mom if she would have a presentation for me, and she goes, oh, no, that's not really for me, but Teisha would be interested. And I thought that was kind of interesting, highlighting the fact referrals and recommendations are huge in a business like this. And because I had such a great relationship with your mom, that she was willing to refer you to do some business together. And I remember this very first presentation you made as a hostess. You were a dream hostess. You knew how to throw a party. You had all the people there. You were excited to what I had to offer. So you definitely was a dream hostess. And not saying every hostess is like that, but man, when you do get a hostess like that, you definitely know they're a recruit waiting to happen. So I had to go in there and say, what can I do that I don't come across pushy? What can I do so she doesn't think I'm trying to recruit her? And I thought, you know what? Let's just have some fun. So let's talk about you, Teisha, on what you remember about the beginning and why you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was trying to think back to this before we even started this episode, and it feels so blurry, yet there's certain parts for sure that I think stood out to me from that day or when I was first introduced to it. I remember being very excited. And like you said, I was a dream hostess, and it's because I actually love to host. And even today, like with when me and Ryan moved into our new house, like I just love hosting events, whether it be for my business or just be to have guests over. And I feel like attending to people and servicing people. I've always just been really into that. So instead of, I think, going through my whole story from, start to end, like, I know many of you guys who have been listening to our podcast for some time, you've probably heard my story or pieces of it throughout the podcast, but also in our book, in our Unwrapped Leader book, it's all in there. It's in that first chapter of getting started into leadership. So if you haven't heard that, I would highly recommend getting your hands on a copy so you can learn a bit more too about where I came from, where Dracy came from, and where we're at now. But I do want to share something new with you guys right now on how it began, and something that you may not have heard before, because I was trying to think of something that I haven't shared yet maybe. And it was definitely how Dracy approached me about the business. And when I had my very first in-home party. And I've done in-home events for other companies before. Like I said, I did like to do the in-home ones, get some friends together. And just, I remember it being so much fun and just having a night to do something other than, at the time I was a full-time university student. So other than homework or just relaxing and doing the typical whatever, it's like something like this where we can get some people together was always a really good time. So for my first in-home event that Dracy led for me, I remember being excited. I remember making snacks with her. I think she arrived early. We did some dips and stuff together, I believe. And she was preparing everything. And I was just trying to soak it all in because I don't think I had even tried the product until this first in-home event. So this is like, I was excited and I was already someone who was really into the type of product, but I hadn't tried this specific brand yet. So it was definitely something that excited me. And during the event, one thing I do know, and I don't remember very, I guess, clearly, but what I do remember is that she did this because that's how I learned to go on in my business and run my own events too. And it was how Dracy positioned the whole opportunity and the whole booking your own event at mine. So I remember at the very beginning of the event, we had all the kind of products and things that were prepared, laid out in the living room. And it was a very relaxed event. Like it wasn't, when it's like people are kind of sitting around at a table and it's like you have to listen to the person. Like it was very interactive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I remember Dracy handing out these cards to people and it had all the different types of products on it. And basically we would kind of go through each one and each person had to read their card. And so it was really interactive in that sense. But at the beginning, I remember her kind of talking about the business opportunity and how she goes around doing this and how fun it is. And I remember also talking about, Teisha's hosting an event and this is kind of the things that she could earn from it. And I was excited. And anytime I host something, my goal is to hit the top. I want to get everything for free or at a discount that I can. And with this product, I was in love with it. And I remember just falling in love with the product. And so that was definitely my reason for joining, was free product or discounted product. Like I wanted to get my hands on more of it. But she talked about it at the beginning and then also talked about it at the very end of the event too. And just, re-mentioning it and bringing to attention, like if you had fun today, this is something that you could do and, create some extra income from home. And there's so many different reasons people join a business like this. But I remember her talking about it at the beginning and at the end. And then when I remember my guest eventually left and I looked at my rewards and I saw that I had hit that top level of rewards, I was ecstatic. I was so excited to pick out all the different things I was going to try. And like I said, Dracy then approached me too, I think when everyone left. And there were some people, or actually, I think during the party, I think you actually mentioned that, and sorry, I'm trying to remember as I'm like processing while I'm talking, if I feel like I'm on a rant a little bit here, but I actually think I remember Dracy asking if Teisha were to get started, who here would host an event for her. And I think we talked about it briefly at the party, maybe when people were there. And so when she mentioned it, there was two people who kind of raised their hands and said, oh, I would love to do an event, regardless of who kind of holds it for me. So I remember talking about it kind of near the end when everyone kind of went home and Dracy's like, you know what, like either I can take these events and I'm happy to do that, but you could also take these events. You could earn the income from it. You could go have fun doing it. And these are your customers. These are your guests. Like you have people that are supportive and love this brand now. So this could be something that you do. And I had never really thought about, I think, like the network marketing industry professionally until, and even when Dracy approached me about it, I really didn't think of it professionally, I guess, because I was, again, just really interested in that free product. And I think she knew that. And I think that's how she positioned it too. She knew that's what I was excited about. So it was like, you could go do these parties, you could make some extra income and you could get some more free product with this income that you're making or kind of whatever you desire or wish. At the time, obviously, I was a university student, so I did not have a lot of money, just extra money laying around. I mostly had student loans that was paying for that. And I really kind of laid low and I didn't feel like I had any sort of financial freedom. So I figured, you know what, like at the end of the day, I knew the worst case scenario was that I would get some really great products out of it. And the best case scenario, I guess I didn't really see that at the beginning, but now I know you could create a career out of this and you could create something that you love and you could be, grow deeply passionate about. So, and when Dracy asked me too, I remember her telling me, which I think gave me a little bit of anxiety, but I was also a bit excited too, because she did throw in a little sweet deal at the end, was she told me my expectation would be to put on 4 events. So 4 parties. And so was that actually the expectation? No, but that was her expectation of me. And she told me, when you get started, you need to do 4 events. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of scared. Like, can I do that? And she's like, well, one's going to be your launch party. Another one, the other 2, you have 2 people that have volunteered at your party, and you could find another one. You could find another person who would love to do this for you. And then once I hemmed and hawed on it a few times, I think I realized, you know what, let's give this a go. And then I remember her telling me, she said, I think there's a company incentive at the time. And there's this gorgeous tea set that the company used to have. And it was called the Serendipity tea set. And it was this beautiful, like, blue and gold and white set. And I remember her telling me, if you do these 4 events, or maybe it was more than that, and maybe it was like a push goal. I think maybe you gave me a push goal. And if you complete this push goal in your first 30 or 90 days, this is a tea set that can be awarded to you. So it was awarded for my efforts. And I'm, like I said, I'm someone at the party. I want the top level. I want to hit the top level. I want to get everything I can get. I don't want to leave anything on the table. So I was the same way when I kind of agreed to this. I'm like, I want it all. I want this tea set. I want everything that I can achieve from this 90-day Success Start program that my company put on for me. So I remember having that conversation. I remember having the conversation about, again, you positioning. You can take these parties, or I could take these parties. This is what you would have made at your own party. Think about, the income you could make at these 2 and your launch and anything else that you kind of gain from that. So anyways, that's kind of how it began. And I think that's kind of the story of how, Dracy positioned it for me at the beginning. And, what I really loved about my event, the free product, absolutely. But, the reason I stay today is, of course, I still love the product, but there's so many, there's so much more to why I stay today, being where I am now. So
wow. It is actually kind of fun to celebrate and reminisce and remember these times. And I want to add to this and why we're sharing this on this podcast is because there was some very specific skills that we had taken in this. And as much as it was fun, and I was doing Teisha's presentation, and she was my best friend's daughter, it doesn't matter whether it's a hostess online or offline. It's just you're constantly role modeling, because you never know who that hostess might become, or whether they become a distributor or not, or one of the guests do. So it's always very important to me when I go into a presentation to role model at that. So yes, I did position the opening and the closing of the opportunity. Yes, I planted seeds through there. Yes, I made sure that the presentation was relaxed. It was interactive. We did an icebreaker to break it up, just to, for everybody to get to know each other. So again, I role modeled. But at the end, I did position it. I positioned her as the hostess, or if she did turn this into an opportunity for herself. But again, I had to listen to her objections. And her objections at that time is she didn't think she could drive and go and do these parties. And I asked her, well, the current ones that are booked, they're your girlfriend and your cousin. Would you actually attend their presentation? And she goes, yes. I said, well, you're already going to them. You can either make money or spend money at them. So again, these were just very specific things that I did. And yes, Teisha is a goal setter. She's a top achiever. And not all hostesses are that. But is all hostesses are still want to have a positive experience with you, and why it's so important to role model these things and have expectations. And again, to get started in the business, we had an expectation. Myself, you can recruit people, and I know there's I'm not sure the word that you'd use, but there's a thing that there's called kidnappers, people who just buy the kit and run and don't actually do anything for that. I'm really big on that's on you. That's on you setting up the party. That's on you setting up an interview with them. That's on you on setting up the expectations on how much you're willing to invest into someone. So don't allow that to be what stops you. Let that be something that attracts people, but it's up to you on how you set and role model and position. So I guess coming back to when I got started, just real quickly on how I set up my first 5 years. When I actually started, it's interesting because I actually used the term when I got started, because I actually came in for the opportunity. I came in, number one, because I wanted the flexibility. I was a single mom on social assistance. I was a licensed hairdresser. I was training to be a commercial pilot. And so in there was no flexibility. And so I decided to stay home with my daughter. So that was what drove me, and having something that was an unlimited opportunity. And I knew this industry had that because I was aware of the Mary Kay story. I actually knew women who were quite successful in the industry, and I was recruited by someone earning a six-figure income. So I said, tell me what to do and I'll do it. So I was an actual sponge. But I also looked at it in this, when I say I think about the 5 years, I looked at it, I'll invest 5 years while it's trendy. Who would have thought it was a career that lasts over 30 years? But I also said, I'm going to take those first 5 years and utilize it like going university for your business. So I took everything that I was learning along the way as lessons. And so what's interesting is because I set myself up as a focused leader, I even did SWOT analysis back then. Now we call them a gifts analysis. But I treated it as a business. And in that, I had earned, I think, well, I don't know if I can say how much I'd earned, but I know it was shy of $1 million in my 5 years. And I remember telling my doctor that when he, when I went and saw the doctor, and he always asked questions about what I did, he was blown away, because in his career going to university as a doctor, he actually came out with over $100,000 worth of debt. So that's kind of the difference of, it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is what makes you stay. And so, Teisha, tell me where you are now, and, what's made you stay?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an amazing story. Like, just shy of $1 million. Like, oh my gosh, that is the absolute dream. And I know that because of that, I've been able to learn from the best too. But yeah, like I said earlier, I came in for the free product. I came in because I fell in love with it. And I feel like that's why a lot of people get started. It all starts with a passion for something. And at the end of the day, a lot of people actually do. I don't know what the exact stat is, but people do kind of try out a few different companies before they find the right fit. Because really, if you don't truly love or believe in what you have to offer, whether that's your product or your service, then you're gonna go find something else. It's not gonna be that end all be all for you. So I guess a few reasons why I've stayed. Let me actually talk about. I want to kind of position this with giving you some of the actual lessons that I think I've learned in the last 5 years, and then from that I'll show kind of how those results have kind of came to be as well with me. So number one is developing patience. And to be honest, I feel like I've always been quite a patient person, but I've had to develop even more of it when going through my last 5 years in this business, because there's a lot of things that I feel like you're waiting on. You're waiting on people, you're waiting on results for yourself. And that brings me to even another lesson, which was falling in love with the process. Because if you can't take the time to fall in love with the process and you can't be patient with it, then you won't achieve your results, because it's something that takes time. And it's something that, again, it's not once you reach that goal, you're done. It's not really, I feel like there's no end point here. I feel like it comes to a point where you want to become a lifelong learner, and this industry too is continuing to innovate and change, and you want to be on top of those changes, right? So you're always constantly learning. And so when developing patience with I think, team members, people who come in, they're not going to come in exactly like you did. And people also are going to have completely different routes when it comes to how they're going to achieve success. And speaking of that word success, what does that mean to them? And you want to know, and you want to figure that out, what success means to them. Because if success doesn't mean making money in the business, if it just means I just want to build a community, or I just want to gain confidence in myself, or whatever it is, there's so many different versions and definitions of success in this industry that it requires a lot of patience, because you want to extract that from people to find out what they are really looking to achieve. And then you want to spend the time with them to get to know them and their background and their goals and, their current strengths. So you could help them maximize on those strengths. And a lot of that takes patience. And then as well with you, if you're setting, goals for yourself, maybe it's a rank, maybe it's an income goal, those things don't come immediately. They take time. And that's why I just can't express enough how important it is to just be in love with the process. There's things for every single job out there that you're not going to like. There's always going to be, one thing that maybe you're dreading. And of course, I can't say I love and I'm obsessed with absolutely every single aspect of this business. But I do know that what I'm obsessed with is the results that follow it. And it's that impact that I get to create in other people, the impact that I've I've had on even myself. And I know that those little things that maybe I dread once in a while, sometimes I feel like certain things, like whatever it is, following up or maybe leading training sometimes, like I feel like once I'm doing it, I realize this is why I love what I do. This is what, and you see those results follow from it. But there's always going to be something that you're not maybe completely head over heels for, but again, I feel like it's part of the process. You got to learn to find a way to, love things like that too, because there's always, there's going to be things you love and the things you don't love, but ultimately, it's all about, you and your happiness, and remembering to do the things that bring you joy, and also always remembering back on, what your why is and why you came into the business. And another big lesson too for that was focusing on the things I could control. And I think sometimes when you get started, and there are a lot of things outside of your control, in the world, in this business, in this industry. And I remember the one thing that stuck out to me was when Dracy told me, I think, I don't know, like we all have to vent once in a while, and everyone has that person they go to. And for me, that person was Dracy sometimes. And I remember one thing she asked me when I was kind of going through an issue in my business. She's like, okay, do you want to be part of the problem or do you want to be part of the solution? And so right then and there, I'm, obviously the solution, like let's get to the bottom of this. Let's solve this problem. And so that's why you need to focus on the things you can control, because you're just becoming part of the problem if you just focus on things that you literally have no control over. I just can't express that enough. It made it the hugest difference in my life when I started looking at every situation that I had no control over and just being like, okay, but what can I do? Let's not focus on the one thing I can't do. Let's focus on the million other options of things I can do, right? It's like focusing on, even people getting started in the business or people who are considering the business, that you can think of all the reasons why you won't be, why it won't work out. But why don't you think of the one reason, or the two, however many reasons are, think of the one reason why this could work out. I'm a strong believer that anyone who sets their mind to something can do it if they just continue to, persevere and just stick with it. And really at the end of the day, you can't fail at this business unless you decide to quit. If you decide to quit, then you could fail, but you don't fail unless you quit. So if you keep going and you keep persevering, you're going to succeed at this. And last but not least, another thing I had to get over, and a lot of people struggle with, is if this is something, or if anything, this is even just, I feel like a life lesson, is just, if it makes you happy, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. I feel like at the beginning, a lot of people seek validation from other people, but at the end of the day, I just feel like if you know in your gut that this is what you love to do and this is what you're passionate about, pursue it and let your results be that noise. Don't feel like you have to get that validation, or that you need approval from certain people. Like, give yourself approval, right? Like, do it for yourself. And that's one thing I had to really learn, was to just start doing things for myself, and from that, and being able to pursue my passions, I've been able to do so much for myself. So let's kind of talk a little bit, I guess, about like where I'm at now with that. And number one is, I've been able to grow a team of hundreds of ambitious women that I lead under me today. I love them, and they've taught me so much. The amount of conversations I've had with multiple different people, I've learned how different routes can look like to reach success in this industry. And with that, I've been able to gain confidence in myself because I've practiced this over and over and over again. And it started probably not so great with everything, with maybe bookings, with getting started in recruiting and building a team. Like, I used to word vomit on people. I used to just be like, oh, you want to know about the business? Here is every single detail about it. And then I realized, okay, people don't actually care. Like, when I really think, like, people don't care. You want to know, what do they want to know? Let them talk, right? And I used to be the talker, and I still am a talker, and I still babble and all that. But you want to know what they want to know. If you would have asked me, like, I think, like, Dracy didn't even, like, again, I try and remember how the questions, Dracy just asked me what I wanted to know. She didn't start telling me every single detail in the compensation plan. In fact, I didn't care, because I wasn't in it for the money. I was in it for the free product at the beginning. I don't care about the compensation plan. I think I learned the compensation plan as I went through it. Like, I think I promoted to leader, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Like, what do I get from that? Like, that's how I was learning it. I didn't care about it. So a lot of people care about very different aspects of the business, and you want to, learn how they do that. And the only way you could develop confidence in yourself is if you go and have those conversations over and over and over again, and you will learn. You will fail, but you will learn from those failures, and you will continue to move forward in your business. And from that, I was able to gain that financial and that time freedom for myself, being a student on loans and not feeling like I had any extra money to go out and do anything. Now actually having money to pay off my tuition, having money to go out for sushi with my friends, having that extra money for just little things that I've never had before. I finally felt free in that one part of me. And then the time freedom being where I'm at now in my career. I went to school for a teacher. I ended up subbing for my first year, but I felt like I was stuck in there, and I felt like it was exhausting. I couldn't just go home and not think about it. To be honest, I think about my business all the time, but I think the biggest difference here is that I'm passionate about what I'm doing, and I loved doing what I'm doing right now. And I just didn't feel that fulfillment in what I was doing before. So I've reached that financial and time freedom aspect, building a full-time sustainable income for myself. And that's, again, how I've been able to create that financial freedom. Of course, with it, something exciting. And I've always really loved to travel to tropical places and just seeing different parts of the world. And so with having that free traveling opportunity every year in the industry over the years, I've been able to earn, I think, five plus trips now. And that's in my 5 years. And it's amazing. And I'm so happy that I've taken Ryan on a trip. I've taken my mom on a trip. I've taken my dad on a trip. And I know that from those, they've seen too, like, wow, this is what Teisha gets to experience every year. And this is why she does what she does too. And again, it's those, I'm not seeking validation, but I'm letting those results be the noise for me, because I truly believe that what I'm doing is where I'm meant to be and my path on what I'm supposed to be on. And then last but not least, 5 years later, I have my own business. I get to help business builders in the network marketing industry thrive. So me and Dracy, with the Unwrapped Leader being, this business that we absolutely love and adore, and something that I remember thinking about this. I feel like even Dracy in my first, I don't know, I feel like in my first 3 or 4 years, I was always thinking, like, Dracy, I think I told Dracy too, years ago, why don't you get into coaching? You're just so good at what you do. Why don't you have your own business? And, I guess she was just waiting around for me. So, yeah.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I definitely been waiting for you, Teisha, in the thousands and the hundreds of leaders I've worked with. And I guess I did look at it. I was already coaching. I was already doing all these things. We've just now taken it next level to be able to showcase, because now it's the industry. Now we want the industry to know the gifts that this business has to offer. So before I say any more, you were incredibly inspiring. I took loads of notes just on what you had to say and how to build on that, because I just have to say, you're only just begun. It's only 5 years from now. So where are you going to go and grow in the next 10 and 20 and 25 years, when the day you get to celebrate 30 years in the industry? Honestly, and just saying that in itself, it gives me goosebumps. So, but again, you just can never forget where you've come from. And I think that is always the biggest thing that I love and admire about this business, is where have we come from? And you and I reflecting on that, I think, is in itself brings good feeling and good heart to know that we had to overcome a lot. And by overcoming a lot is what's allowed us to be able to inspire and empower others. And those are few things. Number one, you talked about being in love and being in love with that process. And this industry is like a relationship, because sometimes you fall in and out of love. But if you stick to the core values of this business and your personal core values, you all of a sudden fall in love with it all over again at a new level, next level, and maybe a different part of the business. The things that used to drive me crazy about the business are now the things that I love about the business. And so it's part of your growth. And if you focus on growth, you're green, you grow, where you're ripe, you rot. And so I've always been focused on growth. And one of my early experiences, there was a woman that I had recruited. She was probably the most difficult woman I'd ever met. She was actually not very nice to me. She was quite nasty to me. And I may have shared this story before somewhere along the lines, but I just remember almost quitting because of her. And in the end, I ended up being successful in spite of her. And that's always been the sweetest revenge is success. Like you said, let your actions be and your noise be the noise in there. And so I think it's really great. And one other thing that is that you took all the beautiful family members on a trip. And I always say, if you really want to get the support of a family member, because they love you, they're supporting you. It's just they may not be. They are also protecting you, so they may not be the 100% support you feel you need. Take them on a bloody trip, and they'll be your biggest fan forever. They'll totally believe in you and what you're doing. But I also believe the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. And so when we say just stick with it, there's a little bit more than just stick with it. You need to have strategy. You need to find what's working and what's not, and that's why it's so important to have a coach. It's so important to have an upline, and it's so important to always be leveling up on that growth spectrum. So what have I learned in these last 30 years? I guess I'm just going to come down to some things. What I had as a mission statement 30 years ago, when I first started, I actually created a mission statement then. And my mission statement has evolved, but now I have my second. So technically I've had two mission statements. The mission statement I once had was to be able to be, do, and have what every woman has ever dreamed of doing and having in their life, with personal development along the way. And I have to truly say I have done all those things. And so now what it has evolved to is to be a healthy, wealthy woman with enriched relationships and create multiple income streams and inspire others to do the same. So I think I hit it all, but as you can see, these are the things that are important. So if I was to empower or inspire you to do something, is craft and create a mission statement. I think that is important. It has made a difference. The other thing is creating philosophies for yourself. And some of the philosophies I've created, number one was speed, not perfection. Again, I fell in love with the process. I focused on progress. Again, I took perfection out of my dialogue and the things that I say. So again, because my leader told me, Dracy, if you weren't focused on being perfect, you're not going to make any money. So if you truly want to make money, you got to focus on the speed and fix and adjust along the way. The other principle that I was guided by is that it was acting on principles, not of emotions, when it came to business. And so I did not get emotional about things that didn't go my way. I focused, again, like Teisha said, on the things that I can control. The things I got emotional about is your dreams and goals. Things I got emotional about was about the vision that I had crafted and created. And so again, coming together on the traits, the 4 traits that a leadership that you can be. And again, that's something we shared in the book. And that is the emotional leader, understanding the difference, a principled centered leader, knowing your values. And so again, that come into my philosophy is understanding my values, being flexible, the freedom, the financial freedom. Those things are part of my values, but also time with the people that matter, and learning to be discerning and give my gifts to discerning to the people who deserve my gifts. And so it was all about setting expectations. And the only expectations that I ever had was my time with people. Otherwise, I have no expectations of people other than, again, I'm patient with the people that I believe have the potential. But again, it's also assessing and addressing, do they want it bad enough? So those are just a few of the philosophies that I've had. But then I also knew my bottom line. And my bottom line, and I ask you to ask yourself, what's your bottom line? My bottom line is it was never about the fancy cars or the big house or anything like that, as much as those are nice and always having money in the bank. But my bottom line was always about how my children speak about me in the playground to other kids. In other words, still to this day. And I'm just saying, again, it's not me focusing on what other people think or talk about me, but it was that I was role modeling my things to my kids. So whenever I had a difficult situation or a difficult challenge, especially about being brave, I think about how would I want my kids to handle this difficult situation? And that is what has guided me to be brave. I have 3 daughters. So you can imagine in the world that we have about role modeling. I have a son. In the challenge of these days of him being masculine and being a man, like just again, role modeling these things. So these are the things that have been my compass, my North Star that has guided me in the lessons I've learned. And last but not least, meet people where they're at, be interested in them, where their goals are, and make sure you have a strong crafted vision, because people want to be with someone that has a strong vision. So Teisha, I just wanted to say it is a delight to celebrate this 5 years with you. Your future is bright, and I adore the fact that you are open to growth. And that is why we're here today. And that's why you are my partner in crime. You are the Unwrapped Leader. And most importantly, you are a gifted leader.
Oh, thank you, Dracy. And those values are so powerful, and I actually see them in everything that we do. It guides us, what your values are, what my values are, and how those line up together. And it just goes to show that power of having a vision is just so huge for growth yourself and for your business too. So thanks again. Thanks for sharing that, Dracy. And I want to thank you all too, who are watching live or catching the replay later, just for celebrating with us and sticking around for this episode. And I just want to remind you guys that this industry, it's the best personal growth program that you will ever take, with a compensation plan attached. You get to earn while you learn. And that is the beauty of this business. And I know that how much I've learned about myself, and I've been able to create a life that I am obsessed with and that I love and that feels fulfilling to me. And that to me is, high up there on my values, is having and doing something that I absolutely love. So thank you guys again for being here. And I just want to remind you guys to make sure you give this video a like, comment, what your favorite part of the episode was. We'd love for you to share this with your teams if you feel it would be of value. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell so you guys never miss out on an episode. We will see you guys next week for another episode on Wednesday in Canada and Thursday in Australia of the Unwrapped Leader Podcast.